is what happens in our human body when we get a cut and we put hydrogen peroxide on it, only at a bigger scale.
Today we were talking about chemical reactions. So what we did were we mixed hydrogen peroxide, yeast, which is used to make bread, it makes bread fluffy, and we use dish soap and food color. So when you mix yeast and hydrogen peroxide, it creates a chemical reaction.
Oh, yours is a
Hello, this is Bass and Saul, and we're at the Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, where students are participating in an experiment to learn more about watersheds and the water in their environment.
In your groups to decide what is a watershed based on this map.
A watershed is when you have an area, it's basically where all the water goes and drains into, like from a mountain. If it drains down from like the peak, it all gathers in one area.
What they did is they just made little mini watersheds of their own. I'd like you to take the marker on your table and I'd like you to color the peak. And when we misted it, the water ran off and trickled down the mountain. So the idea was that's what happens in watersheds. Well, when it rains, water washes down.
Today's lesson is about rational and irrational numbers.
Okay, Taiwan said, I learned that irrational numbers are numbers after the decimal that never stops.
We was working on rational and irrational and terminating decimals and repeating decimals.
Well, we were actually doing activities about rational and irrational numbers because all this week we were actually looking at them. We was learning like a lot of stuff.
Saw a Quizlet, which the kids really love. It gives them that competitive edge to study their vocabulary words. They also were on Google Slides, which they go back and forth just to look at old vocabulary words. We have something called Digital Dictionary where they can look at each module and go back and look at those notes.
Now in class, what are you doing?
Electrostatic forces. We try and get the can to move back and forth with head friction.
Do you like doing hands-on experiments?
Yes, it's fun. But it's more important for me that I want them to have fun, but I want them to definitely make the connection with the science while they're having fun.
It's hot though, it's like it's warmer. Feel it?
It is. It's like
So Jaya, what experiment are you guys working on?
Okay, so we're trying to determine if baking soda and road salt is soluble in water. I strongly believe that baking soda is soluble in water from previous experiments, but I don't think road salt is.
The first graders were the first to start that out of code, but they were learning through activities on paper to understand the basics of coding by way of arrows and letter direction games.
And that's usually what I start my lessons out with the younger grades. So before we even touch an iPad or touch a Chromebook, we always learn how to code on paper.
Coding is a thing that we do to do something like inside of a computer or a phone or a paper.
I'm setting up a three-pole switch. I mean, I can control the light by 2 different switches, how it is like in your home. If you got a switch at your front door, then you can control that switch from the front door and upstairs. I mean, you could just turn it on. And the switches have no on and off, so that whenever you turn it off, it can still be on from this side, keeping the light on.
They learn making good terminal connections, they learn about pulling wire, they learn about cutting, making measurements, all the things that are necessary for them to do.
Create habitat for animals that might be living in the bay and in the harbor.
One thing I like today is cleaning this oyster right here.
I think it's a good experience for people who want to see this type of thing. But people who want to be around the water, I think this will be a good experience for them.
My students have made me smile because they have been repeating words that we've learned in the lesson. And they've shown me that they really were engaged in class. That pre-lesson will have them ready for the actual activities that they're going to be doing when they come to the aquarium, and they'll really be engaged because then they can connect the knowledge that they've learned in the classroom to the actual knowledge that they'll need to actually complete the lessons here at the aquarium.
I'm here with Raymond. So Raymond, can you tell me about what you guys are doing?
What we're doing is right now, we are putting our USB inside the computer so we can program, and that program will lead to our robot brain. So when we put it inside of our controller, we'll be able to drive.
I love the robotics club and I love being here. I never thought that I would be much of a coder or an engineer, but this really brought out of a side of me that I never really saw, so it means a lot to me.
I'm motivated to come to school because the robotics
club has something for me to do after school.
They're applying what they're learning in classrooms to be able to build this and to be able to program it, and how it applies to their real world after high school or after college is that there are careers in which these skills directly apply to what they would be doing on a day-to-day basis.
I feel like robotics can help me become an engineer one day.